Guys, it's Lynn here. Welcome back to part 2 of my deep dive series on Kalvin Garrah. Here's a quick recap of part 1. We looked at Kalvin's early online presence and how he went from YouTube to Musical.ly back to YouTube, and how his content shifted from transition updates and music covers to anti-SJW content. That change wasn't just because that style of content was trending at the time, but because he looked up to influencers like that, like Blair White.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, if you didn't make the videos you did, I wouldn't have made the videos that I'm doing.
Really?
Yeah, definitely not. Because you were like you really like set the sail or whatever. I remember the first time I ever saw one of your videos, I was literally a sophomore in high school.
Who inspired him to make a video on Brendan Beckwith, which remains one of his biggest controversies, and how that video caught the attention of Ariel Scarcella. We also dove into Kalvin's friendship with Ariel and how it propelled him further into transmedicalist spaces, a connection that was partly formed as a way to get back at Chase Ross because Chase had Kalvin's channel taken down, which it eventually got reinstated, but that was also insane. I also went over Ariel's inappropriate behavior with Ryan, London, and even Kalvin himself. If you missed part 1 or you want a more in-depth description over all these controversies, please check out my original video in the description down below. It also includes timestamps in it, so if you don't want to watch the entire hour-long video, you can just go look in the description and it'll say, oh, this is where I talk about Ariel, this is where I talk about London, Ryan, all of those. So yeah, please check it out. Also, while you're here, please give the video a like and subscribe down below. Make sure to hit the bell so that you're notified when I post part 3. Now that we've set the stage, we can finally dive into all of Kalvin's controversies, the first one being with Cass, otherwise known as the Period Prince, which is a lesser known controversy that no one else has covered on their channel, which is precisely why I wanted to make this video. I want to go through everything, or as much as I can. Sorry for the change of angle, the camera quality, and the fact that I'm wearing a different shirt. It's the next day. But anyway, it all began when Cass tagged Kalvin in an Instagram post accusing him of being NB-phobic. In response, Kalvin explored Cass's page, found it amusing, and decided to dedicate an entire video to them.
Let me set some things straight for those of you like Kalvin Garrah. I didn't know who the this person was. I had never talked to this person in my life. I'd never even seen their page until they posted this.
He starts off the video by going through Cass's first post that depicts a cartoon tampon holding up a sign that says they stood with menstruators of all genders. Kalvin clarified while that he did agree with that sentiment, he questioned why someone would make that their entire brand, especially since menstruation is very dysphoric for a lot of trans people. My response to that would be, why do you care? If it makes you dysphoric, just scroll. It's not hurting anyone. Kalvin then went on to criticize Cass and their advocacy for stocking tampons in men's restrooms, arguing that the focus instead should be on securing free menstrual products for everyone.
What I hate most about this has to be the fact that trans people, I know that we need more trans activism. It's really important, and I'm one of those people that as much as I shit on the trans community for stupid like this, I'm an activist for trans rights. Obviously I'm trans myself, but when it comes to period education, period inclusivity, things like that, stop fighting for the extremes, putting tampons in the men's bathroom, doing this, that, and the other. I mean, that's just a reach, you know what I mean? That's really not gonna happen. I think the first important thing that needs to happen that's gonna benefit everybody that gets Shark Week, menstruation, whatever, is for free period products. Put them in the women's bathroom, or maybe even outside of the bathrooms. Public restrooms usually have a place between two. Put them there.
He also mocked Cass for carrying around a tampon with googly eyes on it, calling it Tony the Tampon, and their free bleeding activism.
They should be free. We should focus on that rather than this. My dashboard decor is cooler than yours. I want you to imagine the scene, okay? You get in the Uber, and it's Cass. And they're like, hey, how are you doing tonight? And you're like, I'm pretty good. How about you? I'm doing really great. What do you think of my new dashboard thing? And I'd be like, oh, cool. This is the iconic picture. This is the one that made them famous. Periods are not just for women. Hashtag bleeding while trans. I just want you guys to imagine another scene. You're walking down the road in DC. You just saw the monument. You've been in the museums. And you see a bunch of cameras. You're like, oh, I'm gonna be on the news. So you walk over and you see this. Again, I'd open my Snapchat. I'd be like, y'all will not believe what the hell is going on in mother DC today.
He reviewed another post from Cass in which they said that they didn't let the hate get to them. Kalvin argued that the people who often say this are the ones who try to get his videos taken down, which is possibly a reference to Chase Ross. When Cass announced they were starting testosterone, Kalvin questioned why, because testosterone tends to put your period at a halt, and their entire brand revolved around that. Later, Cass shared a post struggling with the effects of testosterone with the new hair growth, the voice deepening, and experiencing panic attacks. In a rare moment of sincerity, Kalvin expressed empathy, acknowledging that what they were sharing sounded similar to dysphoria.
When they say, the only reason I would want facial hair would be for a queer performance to on with gender, but I want nothing to do with it on the day-to-day. Well, testosterone will give you facial hair. My voice change, though intriguing to observe, like it's some fun science experiment, is also something that I could have lived without. I feel like testosterone has made me sound like a stranger to myself. The point of testosterone is to make yourself not sound like a stranger to yourself. When you actually have dysphoria and you go on testosterone, you end up feeling better about yourself. You don't feel worse about your voice. I've broken down crying about my voice at more than one occasion. My biggest struggle with testosterone is that I can't choose what changes come with it and what I don't. Knowing that T permanently changes your voice by thickening your vocal cords scares the shit out of me. This is me genuinely feeling bad for you. So this, what you're describing right here, this is dysphoria. Feeling like a stranger to your own voice, breaking down, crying about your voice, not liking your voice anymore, being terrified that your vocal cords are changing, that's called dysphoria.
However, this was short-lived as he quickly returned to mockery.
Someone literally said, "Get your dirty fingers off my flag."
He reacted to some of Cass's rather extreme posts.
This picture is just gross. You were like, I'm gonna fuck my goddamn period blood on my fingers, bro. What? Who's here to talk about my pussy? No, I don't want to talk about your pussy.
And finished the video by reacting to their cover of a song, Let Me Bleed, on their ukulele, mocking their voice and making a voice inflection he referred to as the T-Slur voice, something he and Ryan would do often. Don't worry, I'm gonna dive into that later.
I've never heard their voice before, but I am like a 98.3% sure that they have the voice. If you know, you know. You need to hear the voice. When I find my cycle is a struggle and fighting. Kalvin, plus 1 point.
I tried to look for any type of response from Cass or any updates, but I literally could not find anything. But I hope they're doing good. Hope you're doing well, Cass. By this point, Kalvin was gaining more traction, especially with Ariel's endorsement, but the thing that would further propel him into mainstream was his conflict with Onision. If you don't know who Onision is, that's a whole other thing in of itself. I can't even sum it up. It's so insane. Just know that he's kind of, oh, my cat is behind the camera. She is coming to say hi. Okay. Anyway, Kalvin released a video titled Trans Guy Reacts to Laineybot, in which he reacted to Onision's partner, Kai, Lucas, Lainey. He's gone by a lot of names. Throughout the video, Kalvin refers to Lucas as Lainey because that was the name he was going by at the time. Also, Kalvin didn't realize until the end of the video that Lucas went by they, them pronouns at the time, so throughout the video, he also refers to him as she.
Are your pronouns they, them? I feel bad if I said she this whole video. But, I'm not trying to be weird. I'm pretty sure Onision goes around calling you his wife.
I wanted to announce all of this to clear up any confusion, but I don't know if it did. It might have just made you more confused. It's a lot. Kalvin explained that he was reacting to the video because a fan sent it in, and apparently the original footage had been posted on Patreon, so Onision eventually ended up claiming the video. I don't know the full detail. Kalvin stated that he wanted to criticize a lot of Lucas's statements because he felt that given his large platform, he had a large impact on a lot of people and their views, and he felt like Lucas was spreading a lot of misinformation. He also mentioned the fact that Lucas actually reached out to him and said he was completely fine with him making a video on him, and that he thought Lucas was actually really nice, and emphasized the fact that his intent was not to attack him, but rather to criticize some of his points.
Please, if you watch this video, please do not go give Lainey hate, okay? A couple months ago, when word first started surfacing that I was thinking about making a video on Lainey, she actually DM'd me and basically said, look, you're allowed to make a video on me, whatever, but I don't want you to, she was actually very, very nice to me. I don't want Lainey to watch this and feel as though I'm trying to attack her or say something about her, when really the point of this video isn't to go and attack Lainey, but it's more so to debunk things that people with a big platform spread that just are absolutely not true, or at least things that I truly, in my heart, do not agree with.
In the original video, Lucas basically just goes through a Trender bingo card, and the discussion remained fairly lighthearted. It was kind of, joking around, with the exception of Kalvin going on like a 5-minute dysphoria rant.
All have different ways of expressing ourselves, and I think that there's no one way to be transgender.
There is not just one way to be transgender, but there is one requirement to be transgender, which is having dysphoria, because if you don't have that, again, I say this every video, like, that is the one requirement. I would really think that this is like the one thing that everybody should be able to agree on, is that like transgender, transition, trans from one to the other. Like, you have to be uncomfortable one way to want to be the other way, or else you're strictly doing it because you want to, not because you need to. And why would anyone want to be transgender?
He even agreed that some of the stuff on the bingo card was a little outlandish, and he did think Lucas was pretty funny and likable. However, he took issue with his statement that dysphoria was not necessary to be trans.
I major in gender studies. I have a major in psych, so
Close enough. Bro, you know what? I like Lainey. Like, I'm not gonna straight up, I think she's funny. Like, I really do. And, like, I'm not trying to hate on her in this video, but what I'm saying is that, like, you're spreading that there's no such thing as a transgender, when, like, there is.
Also, for anyone who is caught up on the whole Onision lore, Kalvin was saying he liked Lucas before, it was known that Lucas was also a weirdo, so I just wanted to make that clear. In response to Kalvin's video, Onision made like 4 videos about Kalvin, in which he tried to debunk a lot of what Kalvin was saying. He brings up data to back up what he's saying, and it's by a TERF website, and I'm like, okay, buddy. Also, in one of the videos, he was like, "You made my spouse cry," which is so funny because literally Lucas reached out to him himself and said, "I'm fine with you making a video on me." So it's some just Onision, typical, yeah. In October, Kalvin released a video addressing the drama with Elliot Fletcher, a well-known trans actor known for his roles in Shameless and The Fosters. The controversy centered around a private spam Twitter that allegedly Elliot ran, in which he posted a thread about toxic trans masculine people I've encountered. In the thread, he accused several prominent trans men of really problematic behavior, including Storm Ryan, no offense, Aiden Dowling, AJ Holbrook, Sam Collins, Kalvin himself. That's only to name a few. Kalvin responded by defending a lot of the creators that were mentioned, but he found it especially appalling that Elliot chose to criticize Chella Man, who at the time was one of the least problematic trans guys out there. He was never involving himself in drama, and all he really did was advocate for trans rights and disability rights because he's a deaf trans guy.
Number 6 is the one, though. Elliot Fletcher thought he was the one when he decided to put this person on the list. Number 6. Chella Man. And I also love how in all of these you can see he blocked out their name. Dismissive of trans femmies presents only one way to transition. Yeah, yes, Elliot. Chella Man, the least problematic trans person in all of trans social media. All Chella Man does is literally support everybody. Doesn't talk shit, doesn't do anything. This man really is just living his life. And Elliot somehow found a problem with it. No, Chella Man is not dismissive of trans femmes. Isn't he really good friends with that Erin Phillips trans girl? The one in the wheelchair who's a model? Aren't they like best friends? Like, percent's only one way to transition. Like, you transition. Didn't Elliot transition the same way that Chella did? T-top surgery? Again, I don't know.
Kalvin also addressed the accusations directly made against him, such as using the T-Slur, calling being trans a mental illness, and denying the existence of non-binary identities. He argued that as a trans person, he had a right to reclaim the T-Slur as it had been used against him. He also explained that dysphoria, the thing he believed made someone trans, was a mental illness, and that's why he framed it as such. And that he was completely okay with non-binary people and using they-them pronouns so long as they had dysphoria.
Look, you don't like the T-Slur, whatever, alright? But trans men have just as much of a right to reclaim it as trans women. I understand that it might have affected trans women more in the past, but in this day and age, we all get called trannies, alright? Every single trans person gets called a tranny. Classifies being trans as a mental illness. I classify gender dysphoria as a mental illness because the DSM-5 says that it's a mental illness. And if you don't at least believe that gender dysphoria is a medical condition, you're just dumb. I never said I didn't believe in non-binary people. If you identify as non-binary and you use they-them pronouns, or you have dysphoria and you just feel like that's how you are, I'll respect you, like, whatever. Like, not a big fucking deal. Like,
as backlash against Elliot grew, he made a ton of other Twitter accounts begging the people who were criticizing him to take down their posts. He explained that the thread was never meant to be public and that it was meant for his friends as a vent, and that the pushback he was receiving was severely impacting his mental health. However, this explanation received significant pushback. Critics pointed out that if this account was truly meant to be private and only for his friends, why was he accepting a lot of people who weren't his friends and just the public?
the account was private, but it still had a good amount of followers on it, and then he actually exposed that it was him. He posted this picture of his, like, face being like, I'm just chilling out here in Hawaii. I'll put it on the screen if I can find it. But it's just like, okay, you're spreading all this fake shit. A bunch of people, okay? So obviously, the trans people in, like, the community got fucking mad at this. People got really mad at Elliot, and we all started tweeting, like, I didn't really tweet anything, but people started tweeting some hilarious stuff about him. He ended up making, like, 3 accounts, begging people to, like, take down these posts of him. I highly encourage you to start taking down your tweets. Please, lead by example. I'll leave it up for as many days as you left up your thread. I'm sorry it's affecting you like this, but pretty sure this shit has been going on for a month and you're only sorry because you were caught. You threatened to ruin people's lives. Just log off of Twitter, dude. None of this has any effect on your real life. He said, then you'll literally be giving people reason to make fun of me. I made it private because I wanted a private account. Damn, people have private accounts. I didn't think it would escalate the way it did. That's why it was a private account to begin with, because I wanted it to stay small within my friend group. Okay, but you let people follow it. Like, you let random people follow it. Like, chill out. And then this is what Ryan was DMing him, saying that he wanted to FaceTime so that they could, you know, get through to each other. So Gabrielle's now making shit about me and calling me a fag. Like, what the Oh, did you just say a slur, Elliot? What? I don't know why y'all think I can't be affected by this, but good job. Y'all have sent me into my second episode of the day. Over Twitter. Over Twitter.com. May I remind you. Like, you gotta know I have mental illness too, and this is like overdrive. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm shaking. Like, look. I'm sorry that you were shaking, Elliot. I'm sorry that, like, you getting exposed on Twitter for calling out a bunch of people for stuff that they didn't do and then posting it up on your Instagram, trying to talk shit to people is just so dumb. And it's like, just get off Twitter.
Eventually, Elliot addressed the drama on his main Instagram story when fans kept asking him, hey, why do people hate you so much right now? He claimed that basically a lot of people were mad at him for criticizing trans medicalism and criticizing a ton of trans medicalist creators. But Kalvin and many others saw this as deflection because a lot of the people he mentioned in his post weren't even trans medicalists, and the claims he was making at them had nothing to do with trans medicalism.
Then the other day, he posted something and said, why do trans guys have beef with you? He said, it's better to ask them. Most of the people who dislike me identify as true scum. No. A lot of people that dislike you are people who are mad that you made a whole thread about toxic trans people and called, like, Chella Man dismissive of trans people. And, like, no! Like, that's why people don't like you. I do not, and I've been that pretty vocal about that and how their opinions negatively affect people. I've stopped engaging with them online because there's no point. Didn't you beg us to take our post? Okay. There's no point. They only want to listen to themselves or people with the same opinions as them. It's a tremendous sign of immaturity, and I truly hope they grow up and realize the weight of their actions. I wish them the best in the meantime. I swiped up. And I said, didn't you make like a whole side Twitter account to hate on a bunch of trans guys, some of whom aren't even true scum, and then like 2 more accounts to do so? That's why people don't like you, not your views. And then I got blocked.
Kalvin ended his video by saying that he did not hate Elliot at all and actually saw him as a talented actor, but that he should probably just stick to acting instead of involving himself in petty internet drama and spreading misinformation about a ton of trans masculine people.
If you want to know why I don't like Elliot Fletcher, he thinks that he is allowed, even on a private account, that he then exposed to, that was his. He's like allowed to go around and call people rape apologists, trans misogynistic, dismissive of trans. Like, no, you're wrong. You sound dumb. I'm not even sitting here myself because I know that I'm fucking annoying and I know that I can be like, you know, not the best influence. But why are you talking Noah? Why are you talking Chella Man? Why are you talking about AJ Holbrook? Like, Aiden Dowling was on there, Ryan Casada was on there. Like, why are you so jealous? Like, why are you so jealous of other trans people who are just trying to live our lives and aren't functioning the exact same way as you? That's my problem with Elliot Fletcher. I don't hate him. I wish him the best. He's a good actor. The
situation garnered Kalvin a ton of support from the trans community because although a lot of people didn't always agree with his approach or the things he had to say, they appreciated the fact that he was willing to defend a ton of trans people and call out Elliot's actions. Ooh-wee! I don't know, like, if people just don't know about this or if they're just not acknowledging it, but I just find it really funny, and I wish more people knew that Kalvin had, like, this conflict with Buck, so that's basically what this segment is. Buck Angel is, like, one of the most popular trans guys out there. He's pretty old. I think he's, like, in his 60s or 70s. Buck Angel age. 63 years old. Okay. But yeah, Buck Angel is widely known. He's been in documentaries. He's done a lot of activism, a lot of education. In recent years, he's kind of gone off the deep end a bit. He's also really known because he used to be in the adult entertainment industry, so he's also really known for that. Oh my gosh, his doctor said he was like his guinea pig. Buckback Mountain is the name of one of his films. I know, like before your videos you're supposed to research everything. I mean, I already knew I already knew the gist of who Buck was, but whoa. This drama began when some of Buck's fans brought Kalvin to his attention. Buck checked out one of his videos in which he basically said he hated being trans and that he found the community extremely annoying. In response, Buck basically went on Instagram Live and went on a rant about Kalvin, saying, "Who is this Kalvin Garrah?
Who is this Kalvin Garrah? Who is he? I am not okay with it. He is sick. He is mentally ill. And the fact that this goddamn community just lets this kid spew that hate. He has like 200,000 followers. What?
He criticized Kalvin for complaining and said that he should be grateful he even has the opportunity to transition, but continued by insisting that Kalvin was this privileged white kid from suburbia whose parents paid for his transition and that how he didn't understand what it really meant to be trans.
I'm a real activist. I'm a real mother pitbull. I'm a real tranny, dude. You have no idea, Kalvin, what it means to be a tranny. You're a rich little white who lives in suburbia somewhere, and your parents give you money because you don't even have a job, Kalvin. You're a little diaper-wearing little I said it. Are you gonna come after me?
He then escalated the situation by saying he was going to bring a whole pack of T-words to his house and see how tough he was then.
And my mother ass is gonna find you. I'm gonna find where you live, and I'm gonna bring a whole goddamn pack of trannies after you. And then we're gonna see, my friend. I will take that out. I will take that little out. He thinks he's a badass. He thinks he's a badass. I will make that cry.
He justified his anger after arguing how much he had done for the trans community and, paving the way so that trans people could transition, and that Kalvin was complaining about it and complaining about his top surgery.
Where we are continually stepped on, losing our rights, all the goddamn I do for this community, and you think some 18-year-old Kalvin Garrah is gonna come in and talk shit about his surgery, talk shit about his waiting to be trans? Then don't be trans, you little punk bitch. Move on over and let us have our community back.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, his comment about Kalvin being a privileged white kid from suburbia, it kinda ate a little bit, because it's true. Kalvin had access to hormones at 15 and had top surgery at 17. Obviously he was coming from a place of privilege. But other than that point, everything else Buck said was pretty insane, especially because he was 56 at the time and Kalvin was 18. So to be on Instagram Live threatening him is just, what are we doing? And obviously, Kalvin's fans screen recorded the live, sent it to him, and Kalvin reached out to Buck, basically wanting to clarify his stance. He explained that he didn't hate the trans community as a whole, but rather took issue with the way people misrepresented it, treating it as a trend. He also acknowledged that he did come from a place of privilege, having family support and access to hormones, but he did clarify that he paid for his own surgery and that he wasn't rich by any means. He maintained his point on hating being trans, saying that it was difficult dealing with dysphoria every day and it made a lot of aspects of his life harder in general, and that he would prefer to be cis. Buck ultimately came to understand Kalvin's perspective and ultimately ended up apologizing. Now, in no way are they friends by any means, but they're on okay terms now. And I specifically remember in a post from 2019, it was 2019, 2018, it was a picture of Kalvin's face or something. Buck Angel commented on it "Oh, you look so handsome, I'm so proud of you, signed Trampa." And I just find that really funny, him being all "Mom, love you, Trampa," and just cut to
diaper wearing little
you know what I'm saying? I do want to point out though that on Kalvin's spam Instagram, he does poke fun of Buck. He's not saying he hates him or he's crazy, but he does kind of poke fun at him, which I just think is pretty funny. Throughout Kalvin's content, he frequently used vocal inflections to mock the people he critiqued in his videos. Two of the most prominent were what he referred to as the SJW voice and the T-Slur voice, also known as the trans guy voice. The SJW voice became a reoccurring feature and almost a staple, he was known for doing this voice.
I am not a woman. True scum, don't interact.
He adopted it after watching his friend Noah, and not no offense, he is involved a little later on though, as Noah Lee. He knew him even prior to transitioning, and he co-ran YouTube channels with him. But during their time on that collaborative channel, they had drama with this other kid their age, and Noah used to do this voice to kind of mock him, and it just caught on and they kept doing it. And I guess Kalvin just brought it to YouTube, and anyone he thought was dumb, he would use that voice for. He often referred to it as the SJW voice, but honestly, he would use it for anyone. He would use it for a TERF. He would use it for a transphobe. He would use it for an annoying person at the grocery store. This voice, he just kind of used for everyone.
Everybody is always asking me about how I do the SJW voice. The one that sounds
Hey guys, well, yeah.
Oh, that's how you impersonate them?
that's how I impersonate them, because that's what they sound like.
You know that voice is how we have impersonated every dumbass we know.
Yeah, we've been doing that voice since we were 14.
While this voice was often seen as just a silly bit he did or a weird vocal inflection, the T-Slur voice was way more controversial and widely regarded as harmful. This vocal inflection mocked the way some trans masculine people sounded after taking testosterone. Kalvin and Ryan used this voice frequently, and Kalvin even dedicated an entire video titled "The T-Slur Voice and How to Avoid It." In the video, Kalvin claims that the T-Slur voice is basically a voice that trans men who are on testosterone develop, usually from speaking from the top of the voice instead of the chest, or because they went on a high dose of testosterone in a really short period of time. He discusses the importance of a reputable doctor and discussing the idea of gradually getting into testosterone to avoid this voice, or to just do vocal training.
But with trans guys, it's like, woo, like you just drops. Like my voice dropped in 3 months, you know what I mean? So cis guys have time to acclimate to getting a deeper voice, and they actually like subconsciously stop speaking from the top of their throat and start speaking from their chest. This is something that like if you do a lot of voice training before T, you're less likely to end up with a voice like this.
Although Kalvin ends the video by acknowledging that the voice itself isn't inherently bad, and that if you like your voice, that's all that really matters, the sentiment seems a little inconsistent, especially because he and Ryan would use that voice to mock or ridicule people.
Hey guys, Ryan here.
Ryan and Kalvin here.
I am 4 months on testosterone.
The overall tone of the video and the title suggest judgment, and it raises concerns of how this kind of content was affecting his viewers, because his viewership mainly consisted of young trans guys, and I wonder if it made them scared to start testosterone, or if it made them feel subconscious about the way they were sounding on testosterone. A creator by the name of Clarabelle began tweeting at Kalvin, Ryan, London, and Sam, mocking them and calling them bullies. And although Sam never outrightly made transgender content, he was often grouped in with the transmedicalist community because of his strong connections with them, and he never tried to deny this. In response to Clarabelle's tweets, the group decided to engage in a debate with her. London went first, followed by Sam, and then Kalvin and Ryan. During Ryan and Kalvin's segment, Ryan got so upset that he actually had to step out and leave early, while Kalvin talked to Clarabelle for the remainder of the debate. In the end, Clarabelle and Kalvin kind of agreed to disagree. I believe Sam's video covering the debate is still up, so I'll make sure to link that in the description. This is where things really start to get messy. This is around the time Kalvin and Ryan made their series, where they basically looked up the hashtag trans tag on TikTok, and the format was pretty simple. Kalvin would find videos for Ryan to react to on his channel, and Ryan would find videos for Kalvin to react to on his channel. Before this, Kalvin's content targeted adults often older than him, but this is when he and Ryan started making fun of teens and kids. Their commentary largely mocked how these creators tried to seem older or more attractive.
Where's your mom?
What's up? I'm a homosexual.
Where's your mom? Like you're on there like I like. Where's your mom? Like I hope.
To a week.
I can just imagine his mom walking in with like a bag of like Bojangles. Like I feel like he definitely lives in the South. I'm just imagining her walking like, what are you talking about? Senpai boy.
Is this me in another life form?
Senpai boy trash. Yes. This is you as a. Look at this. I know what you were gonna say.
To be fair, they did include disclaimers warning their audience to not go and harass these people, and they did admit that they were just as cringy when they were younger and actually reacted to their own cringy musicallys. However, regardless of intent, they also had a sizable platform largely made up by trans teens. Seeing fellow trans people mocked and ridiculed despite their intent still had a real impact, not only for the people in their videos, but for the people watching their videos. And honestly, to this day, I don't think either of them have addressed it. The conflict between Rin and Kalvin, also known as Gothfruits, began in November when someone asked Kalvin what his opinions were on him, because he was also another popular trans guy known for his makeup content. Kalvin basically responded saying, "She's literally a trender." This obviously upset Rin, and he DM'd Kalvin and then posted their DMs on his Instagram. In December, Kalvin made a video addressing the situation, joined by Storm Ryan. The discussion mainly revolved around Kalvin questioning why Rin did not want to pass and whether or not he experienced dysphoria. Rin, on the other hand, argued that dysphoria was a personal matter and that Kalvin should respect people's pronouns regardless.
How can you be male and non-binary, and what types of dysphoria do you experience?
This is literally none of your business and incredibly invasive. I owe nothing to you. ...
Trans people talk about their dysphoria all the time. It's not really invasive. I've never met someone who said that, especially maybe pertaining to bottom dysphoria. How do you expect the majority of people to respect and understand your identity if you won't explain how you feel?
Okay, and LMAO, it's still none of your business, especially if all you do is sit around juuling. Where's the jewel? Pretending you're gender god.
I don't even jewel.
After everything that had happened, Rin eventually disappeared from the internet, but not for the reasons people initially assumed. While some believed it was because of Kalvin's video, the reality was far more serious. This situation is very complex, but I'll try to do my best to explain it as clearly as possible. Rin has been accused of being a apologist. Years ago, when Rin was still in high school, a close friend confided in him, revealing that they had been by his boyfriend. Instead of offering support, Rin allegedly manipulated and gaslit them into questioning whether or not the assault actually happened. And then 2 years after graduating, that same boyfriend went on to assault others. One of the survivors made a video detailing their experience, which I will link down below. Little interruption here, but BuzzFeed has an article outlining this situation with statements from the victims and receipts, so if you're interested in the coverage of the situation, check out that. All you gotta do is search up Gothfruits BuzzFeed article. Anyway, back to the video. I discovered this information through a TikTok user who broke down the situation and showed receipts. They also pointed out the fact that Rin was using Kalvin's 2025 apology to paint themselves as the victim and the reason they disappeared from the internet.
Sorry for making people invalidated. I felt really sorry for people that ever watched my videos and felt more scared to come out.
But people started calling him out in the comments, and Rin replied with, "I dated someone who was outed as a unfortunately. I chose to ignore it and made things worse with my actions. I never said I was a perfect person either." This response misrepresented and downplayed what actually happened. Rin didn't just ignore the situation, he actively directed hate at the victims, called them liars, toxic, and gaslit them. Once his comment began to receive backlash, he deleted it along with all other comments mentioning this, but thankfully I did manage to screenshot a few of them. Unfortunately, the user that posted all this proof and made me aware of this situation had their entire TikTok account taken down, which wasn't entirely surprising as they had even warned that Rin might try to have their account taken down, and it wasn't the first time he tried to suppress criticism. And while I do agree that Rin did not deserve to be invalidated by Kalvin, I do not support the way he's weaponizing this situation to gain sympathy. Kalvin wasn't the reason he was canceled, if you can even call it that, more like held accountable. That being said, I want to make it very clear that I don't condone sending hate. That's not going to do what you think it's going to do. I'm covering this information because I think it's important to expose his continued harmful behavior, but sending him death threats, sending him hate isn't going to do anything productive. It's just causing more harm. Jack was Kalvin's first trans friend, and the two were very close during the 2016-2017 Musical.ly era, and they both supported each other through their transitions. However, as Kalvin became more radical in his trans medicalist beliefs, Jack took a different path. Wanting to distance himself from Kalvin's ideology, Jack decided to make a video critiquing trans medicalist beliefs. After uploading a video titled, "Stop Calling People Transtrenders," he received a mixed reaction, with a few people supporting him, but the majority criticizing him or sending him hate. This moment illustrates the growing divide in the trans community and how it became more difficult to push back against the dominant transmed narrative. In his video, Jack critiques the term transtrender and how it is both used by cis and trans people to invalidate or dismiss others' identities.
The word has been used by cis people to attack trans people, including those who experience dysphoria, and now some trans people are using it against other trans people who do not fit into their definitions of what being trans is or what being trans looks like. And by doing so, these trans people are enforcing gender stereotypes, perpetuating transphobic notions, and are aligning themselves with our oppressors in order to gain acceptance for themselves.
He believes it discourages gender exploration, which is essential for self-discovery, and that gender expression does not determine whether or not someone is trans. He also shares his own personal experience with gender exploration and how he actually identified as gender fluid before identifying as a trans man. Seeing others experiment with their gender identity gave him the courage he needed to experiment with his own. If he had been exposed to such harsh trans med narratives at 15, he questions whether or not he would have been scared back into the closet.
I think that experimenting was key to my personal happiness and well-being, and if at 15 I'd been told that I had to fit into this box that other trans guys believe is necessary to be trans, I think I would have been scared off, and that thought is pretty terrifying to me, that other people could be scared off from exploring their genders or scared back into the closet because they are experiencing harassment from other trans people, or they witness people who they relate to being harassed by other trans people.
Jack concludes with the strong message that no one should have to prove their gender identity, and that the trans community should focus on uplifting one another and supporting each other rather than infighting. I have to say, calling out the idea of Transtrenders and trans medicalism in general was pretty courageous on Jack's part, and he did face significant backlash. But another prominent trans creator named Noah Fintz, who had previously held more trans medicalist beliefs and was even friends with Kalvin and Ryan, I don't think he was anymore by this point, he replied saying, "Why are people sending you hate, LMAO? Just say you disagree with him and move on," which is kind of nice seeing, him being supported in that way. Well, those were all of Kalvin's 2018 controversies. Let me know down in the comments below if I missed any. In part 3, I'm going to go over 2019, which is a lot more intense and involves a collaboration with Blair White, starting a podcast with Ryan, and receiving heavy backlash for the first time. Thank you for watching. Have a good day and peace.
Little diaper wearing little